Have you ever thought about how a country could go to war with itself? Well, today we're going to talk about a really important time in Spain's history, the Spanish Civil War. It's a big story, but don't worry, we're going to figure it out together. So let's start with the big question. What was the Spanish Civil War? Simply put, it was a huge fight that split the entire country of Spain right down the middle. But who was fighting, and what was it all for? Let's dive in. Okay, so to really get what happened, we need to go back to the very beginning. You see, this war didn't just start overnight. The problems had been growing for a while. Let's see how it all kicked off. The war happened between July 1936 and April 1939. That's almost 3 whole years. For all that time, Spain was in the middle of a terrible war that would change the country forever. Right before the war, the government in Spain was called the Second Republic. This was a democracy, which just means that people could vote for their leaders. It had been like this for about 5 years. But, not everyone likes this government. A group of army generals, led by a man named General Francisco Franco, decided they wanted to take over. And they started their fight in a pretty surprising place, not in Spain itself, but in Spanish Morocco. And this wasn't just some small disagreement. No way. The fight spread super fast, and it split the whole country into 2 sides. It turned into a civil war, where people from the same country, sometimes even the same family, were fighting each other. So, if the country was split into 2, who exactly were these 2 sides? Let's take a look. All right, on one side, you had the Republicans. These were the people who supported the government that was already in place. And on the other side, you had the nationalists. These were the rebels, the soldiers and their supporters who were following General Franco. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. This war in Spain didn't just stay in Spain. Other big countries from around the world decided to jump in and help out. So the Republicans got help from the Soviet Union, which is now Russia. And the nationalists, well, they got help from Germany and Italy. These countries sent weapons and soldiers, turning the Spanish War into a much bigger deal. And it's really important to know that all these countries that got involved, the Soviet Union, Germany, and Italy, were all dictatorships. They all had very strong ideas about how countries should be run, and they saw Spain as a place to fight for those ideas. After all that fighting, you might be wondering, how did it finally end? It was a really long and difficult war for everyone in Spain. Well, after years and years of fighting, it all came down to the capital city, Madrid. Once the nationalists were able to take control of Madrid, it was pretty much the end of the line for the Republicans. And that was it. In April of 1939, the nationalists, led by General Franco, won the war. The Spanish Civil War was officially over. But just because the fighting stopped, it doesn't mean the story ends there. What happened after the war would affect Spain for many, many years to come. First, the number of people who died was just awful. We're talking about 365,000 people. That's a huge number, and it left the whole country incredibly sad. After he won, General Franco created a new kind of government for Spain, a dictatorship. This means that one person, the dictator, in this case Franco, had all the power. He was in complete control of everything. And there were other terrible effects too. People who disagreed with Franco were thrown in prison or even killed. A lot of the country was destroyed. Roads, bridges, buildings, all gone. And because there wasn't enough food, many, many people got sick. It was a really hard time. So, as you can see, the Spanish Civil War totally changed Spain. It changed its government, its people, everything. And it makes you think about a bigger question, doesn't it? How does a war, especially a civil war, change a country forever?